I would say I think for the most part this draft did a couple things. This draft addressed depth. When you lose, you had almost 23 free agents um, going into this after this going into this off season. The biggest thing that was tested was Baltimore's depth.
Mhm.
I think getting for me looking at it, I for me I value offensive linemen. Okay, um, Kevin Zeitler and Morgan Moses are respectable veterans, but they're older and
Mhm.
coming into the season not confident with Ben Cleveland, but in retrospect, Ben Powers, now painfully a Denver Bronco, it took
Mm.
him his third season and he kind of got it right. Um, Getting Nate Wiggins, I mean, we hadn't drafted a corner in the first round since Marlon Humphrey. Marlon
Mhm.
Humphrey's getting older, so and especially with the injuries, I think putting Marlo in the slot is good. You got Brandon Stevens on the other side, paired with Kyle Hamilton, and then we forget Jalen Armendariz, but also too some of the guys we've had at corner can't stay healthy, and then also too
Mhm.
we're bringing in guys like Darby and Rocky Sin, and I those are they're good placeholders, but they're not long term options.
Right.
Um, I really liked the pick. What's the, Rosenstein out of
Let me get.
Washington. Um,
Let me bring that up for you. Give me 1 second.
didn't allow a sack his 2 years. Um, we'll see how that transitions
Mhm.
into the
No,
NFL.
Rosengarten at Washington.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Will was talking about him a lot. The 62nd pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he was pretty good. Oh, 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 okay. The third
Adissa.
round pick, Adissa. I have questions because I feel like he's going to be a development piece. I don't think
Mhm.
he's going to have an impact right away because I didn't see enough on tape to make me as an analyst like go, oh okay, because I'm his counterpart always. I'm still waiting for him to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
So they're not that that one. That's about it. I gave it a C plus.
Mhm.
Um, Devontae Walker
Come on,
out
brother.
of Carolina.
Come on, brother.
I'm actually not. I'm actually not mad at that pick. I preferred the great Jerry Rice's son to be drafted
Yeah.
as a Raven.
He.
Um,
Brandon Rice, yeah.
Yeah. He
and
fell. I was
yeah,
surprised he fell as far as he
extremely
did.
fell.
Yeah.
Um, but Devontae has size. He's got hands. I would
Mhm.
like him to. I want to see his improvement on route running. I
Okay.
think that'll get better with our receiving coach core here. But that's another thing too. Depth at receiver.
Mhm.
I mean, and
Mhm.
another thing is too. Everybody was so again as a Raven fan. It my the community is. I'm just going. They're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
because everybody was
aren't they?
all
Are all teams fans? Like, come on.
Are most
but I mean,
President, are
but not
most of
in
them
this
right? Are most of them pains in the butt?
right. But and I'm just saying in this regard, like for example, right before the draft, you had those who are all of a sudden now general managers. Well, if you cut Ronnie Stanley, you save
Mhm.
about $60 million. Well, you can trade Rashard Bateman for a third round pick. Who are you replacing them with? And the thing is with the draft, it's either hit or miss. Like Devontae is more for depth. Now Rashard Bateman, who got a contract extension, I think
I
was
was just say,
deserving
didn't he
of
get
it. That was
extended?
actually
Yeah.
and I understand why they extended him because if you think about it, they kept him cheap. But
Mhm.
outside of Zay Flowers, who now automatically is now your default number one wide receiver, um, Dennis Nelson Aguilar, Bateman, and then Devontae Walker. Those four alone, and then they didn't add in Tylen Wallace. So they've got a decent receivers core. So I'm not mad at that. So they gave Lamar a piece that has size and has good hands. TJ Tampa again was just another depth peak piece. I like him out of
Mhm.
Iowa State. Um, the running back out of Marshall, Rashawn Ali. Baltimore
Mhm.
historically has always done well drafting running backs late in the draft. A la Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Ray Rice. They've always exceeded well. Now he will be. I think he'll make the team. He'll probably make the practice squad. I wouldn't be phased if he actually made the 53. Because Derrick Henry's now your default number 1. Justice Hill should be your number 2, and then the battle between him and Keaton, obviously. That's something I'll be watching for sure. And then the quarterback out of Kentucky, Devin Leary.
Oh yeah,
I don't like that pick. Because
I don't like it.
Personally, I think it was I would know the logic behind that. Now, granted, Tyler Huntley departed in free agency, okay? And then they bring in Malik Cunningham, which was Lamar's former teammate at Louisville. So was this we're not confident in Malik Cunningham pick? Was this a John Harbaugh pick? Was this a Todd Monken pick?
You don't think it was just like a practice squad guy, like a depth pick? Because he totally, I too was confused by the pick because he's totally different, as a totally different style of quarterback than is a Lamar and some of those guys. So
exactly.
I wonder if he's just a practice squad, like a camp body or something like that.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, some drafts gave it an A, some gave it a B. With the 6 picks, Baltimore did okay.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. Like I said, preferably in the first round, all the offensive line were practically taken. I would have preferred somebody other than Isaac, but I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay, especially now that Zach Orr's the defensive coordinator. I think he's going to elevate his guys differently than McDonald did before he departed for Seattle. But I think this draft was essentially just we need to get some depth going. So, but for me personally, for my draft grade, a solid B.
Okay.